All right, for this next part, we're going to be doing some writing about ratio relationships. So, again, referencing the graph, number 3 says, for each ratio given, fill in a description of the ratio relationship it could describe using the context of the survey. So that part where it says using the context of the survey, that means using this information from the survey. Here we have a ratio of 4 to 3. 4 to 3. So I'm looking down here and I'm looking for where there are 4 shirts preferred. And I do see that in that there are 4 yellow shirts preferred. So that's a good 4. And then for 3, what could that correspond to? I see orange has 3 shirts preferred. Okay, so I'm thinking they're talking about the ratio of yellow to orange shirts. Now, the one other direction here that I want to call attention to is it says underline or highlight the words or phrases that indicate your example is a ratio. So I'm going to talk about that in just a second after I write down the ratio relationship. I'll come back to that direction. So something I could write here, since I said I believe they're talking about the ratio of yellow shirts to orange shirts. So I could write something like there are 4 yellow shirts for every 3 orange shirts. Okay, so this is describing the relationship comparing the ratio 4 to 3. Now again, this part that says underline or highlight the words or phrases that indicate your example is a ratio. So this is words that are comparison words that are often used in a ratio. And some examples of that might be for every. Okay, that would serve as the example here because those words make it a ratio. There are 4 yellow shirts for every 3 orange shirts. Okay, for the next one, I'm looking for what they could be talking about when they're describing a ratio 3 to 4. I recognize those numbers. We just use those numbers. We know orange has 3 shirts preferred. Yellow has 4 shirts preferred. So I'm going to be using those same colors in this relationship. However, in the first one, I mentioned yellow and then I mentioned orange because it was 4 to 3. And you need to mention the color that represents the first number first. Here it's the opposite. So the first number in the ratio is 3, meaning I will mention orange first in this relationship. So I could say there are 3 orange sorry, my marker doesn't work. All my markers are dried up after our long summer. There are 3 orange shirts for every 4 yellow shirts. Making sure that my relationship that I've described matches the ratio. I mentioned 3 and then I mentioned 4 for yellow second, just as the ratio 3 to 4. And once again, I'm going to be highlighting the words that indicate this example is a ratio. So just like the top one, those words for every, that's what makes this a ratio because it's comparing words. You're comparing 3 to 4. Okay, so for this next one, it gives us the number 19 in the ratio. I remember from the last example that we did that 19 was the number that represented how many colored shirts were preferred. So that 19, they're talking about the colored shirts. Just gonna remind myself that with a little note here. And then 7, I can see, I think that's what was from white, just to make sure. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, that's talking about the white shirts. So we're comparing colored shirts preferred to white shirts preferred. So we could say here, and just to kind of change up our wording so it's not all the same, we could say for every 19 colored shirts, if I could find a marker that works, you guys, that would be amazing. For every 19 colored shirts, there we go, there should be 7 white shirts. Okay, and here are keywords that make it a ratio. Oops. I didn't mean to underline 19. We're just underlining for every. For every makes it a ratio. It's comparing those two numbers. So for every 19 colored shirts, there should be 7 white shirts. Represents a ratio of 19 to 7. Okay, and for the last one, 7 to 26. Again, 7, that's these white t-shirts here. And then 26, if you remember from our last problem, represents how many t-shirts there are in all. That's all of the t-shirts added together. So for this last one, we could say 7 out of 26 shirts are white. Okay, just to kind of model for you the different types of ways you can word these ratios. 7 out of 26 shirts are white. You can, and then out of would be our comparison phrases here. And we mentioned it in order. 7 to 26 stays in that order. So 7 out of 26 t-shirts are white. We don't have to label anything for 26 because that's all of the shirts. Okay, and really quick, just to preview your problem set, it gives you 2 problems where it asks you to give the ratios. So number 1 is asking you to create 4 different ratios related to these floor tiles. Now, what that's talking about is how some of them are black, some of them are gray, some of them are white, and you can group those together in different categories, such as the shaded tiles, and that would be both the gray and the black, or unshaded is the white. Okay, those types of things can help you generate 4 different ratios, and you can just flip-flop them as well. If you're talking about the ratio of apples to oranges, you can flip-flop and talk about the ratio of oranges to apples. Okay, and those are 2 different ratios. Just make sure that when you include the label to describe the relationship, such as saying there are 4 apples for every 2 oranges, make sure that that matches the numbers represented in the picture. Okay, obviously you won't be using apples and oranges as the unit, but you understand the reference that I'm making. And then down here, it actually is talking about apples, but with peppers. So it's asking you to evaluate an answer that another student has given. He describes this relationship as a 1 to 3. As the ratio of apples to peppers. So is that true? Explain your answer. So writing down words to describe why that is or is not true. Okay, and then to wrap it up, a lesson summary. Ratios can be written in two ways. So you can use that word to describe it as A to B, or you can write it with that colon, A to B. You read it the same either way. We describe ratio relationships with words such as to, for each, for every. Those are those words that we're going to be highlighting and underlining to describe the ratio relationship. We are looking for those words. And then finally, the ratio A to B is not the same as the ratio B to A unless A is equal to B. Okay, so that makes sense. If these are equal numbers, you can flip-flop them because they're the same number. It wouldn't make a difference. But if these numbers are different from each other, it's important the order that they're written in for the ratio. All right, guys, awesome job. Work on your problem set and let us know if you have any questions.